Welcome, welcome, welcome to this week's Projector Energy Study. I'm so excited you're here. Today we are going to talk about expanding your soul, and we're going to talk about the mechanics of soul purpose and really what is alignment and how to get to it and how to stay in it and how to move in it, because that's really what brings you success as a projector. And success is when you feel success, that's how you know you're in soul alignment. And that's going to bring you all the blessings and the manifestations and all the cool things that you really want to experience in this lifetime. And a lot of them unexpected and much better than you could ever think of. So, who here is excited to understand? And also to understand what is our purpose here on earth? Like, what are the mechanics behind what's actually spiritually, quote unquote, the right thing to do? Because there's so many confusing things happening in our lives every day. So that's what we're dealing with today. I'm excited you're here live on Zoom. I'm excited if you're watching on YouTube live. I have the chat open. I see someone's watching on YouTube. So if we have more joining, feel free to use the live chat on YouTube. I will check it once in a while, but mostly I'm over on Zoom. So welcome on the replay too, if that's your thing right now. Thanks for having your cameras on for those of you who can, because that's always lovely for me to see your faces and your energy. And I feel like we're doing this in community. And I'm excited for you to use the chat in here as well, because why? Because it gives me feedback and then we can expand on some things, because you are all projectors and you're going to see things differently than I see them. So, I welcome your ways of seeing in the chat so we can add it. Sometimes the way you say something will land so much better for someone who's watching or listening than how I said it, or it might deepen how they understand it. So we are all needed in this together, which, yeah. So we're going to talk about, like I said, the mechanics of what is it actually to live our soul's purpose. What is alignment, and then we're also going to look, of course, toward the later part of this call. What are the specific themes of this weekend, specifically the Shabbat energy? But even if you don't do Shabbat, just what like around, and you don't have to do Shabbat for this to work. It's just a consciousness shift that is available in this time window. I mean, there are many available, but we're going to dive into one specifically, and then we're going to wrap up. So I have my notes here, I have my reading glasses and my tea. So yeah, bring your questions as well to the chat. If it fits into what we're talking about at the moment, I will address it at the moment. And if there's time at the end, I will address it at the end. Or if it doesn't fit the subject, then maybe just hold it until the end. And just for quick announcements, so that you guys know what's going on in my world, I have my two memberships. One is a Projector Business membership, and we have weekly calls and a community. It's always really fun. We've been having a lot of fun with that since early this year. And the other one that just opened a few weeks ago is I just renamed it based on my guidance from above. I felt like there was no energy behind the word manifestation, because it was feeling too outcome oriented. So I was like, what are we really doing in there? So yesterday, the day before, I renamed it Projector Empowerment Collective, which is all about supporting you to get into your power. And that is still, we're still in kind of like a beta phase, but we are about to kickstart it strong. The calls are immediately after these calls on Fridays, so 10 a.m. PST every other week. And until Sunday, the founding member rate is still available, which is $57 a month, really affordable. If you would like to have a community and calls and a chat and bi-weekly into you to get your spark back, to get your power back. And if you've never had it, or if you want to bigger it, whatever that is. And there's also a course library that's developing so that you can go study some things on yourself as well in there. So that's available. I offer readings, so if you're interested in one of those, message me. And I still, for the remainder of this month, I'm also still offering my 1 month intensive if you're wanting a quick start into more alignment. So that's just the quick announcements. That's what's available. And of course, the weekly projector energy study right here. So please keep coming to these. That's always great to have you here. So let's talk about soul expansion. So whenever I write an email or content or channel something for my audience or for the for the world, whoever wants to read it, whenever the word soul comes through, I'm always a little bit hesitant to use it, even though it's such a strong word that I love to use and I know what it means, like what it means for me. But I know like it can also sound incredibly empty when people just use it like a soulpreneur, or, I'm not judging anyone for using it, of course, because a lot of people want, and this is, I think, one of the biggest things that projectors are here to bring in the world is to get people more into the expression of their soul. But then it's like, what is actually the soul, right? And I've touched on like how I understand it a little bit in some of the previous Friday calls. So, you know, those are always great to listen to if you haven't yet. So the soul, as I understand it now, and it's been a question for me forever because I like I like exact definitions for things so that my mind can wrap itself behind it. But it's kind of hard to put. That's why, same with the creator or the universe or God, it's something very different for everyone. And it's just so hard to put words on something that isn't in the physical world, that we can't touch, that we can't smell, that we can't see with our eyes. So it is more of a feeling. And so what I understand with human design, and especially with us projectors, is, or with any type in human design. Oh, Kamala made it over from YouTube onto Zoom. I love it. So the self, in the human design chart, there's every type has the self or the not self theme. So the not self theme being when we're feeling like things aren't going really well. We don't see opportunities, synchronicities. People around us are not always acting like we want them to. Not that we can control that anyways, but if we come from the standpoint of like attracts like, then when we're at a frequency of not self, there's usually a good amount of grudge and bitterness that we're carrying around vibrationally, and then we have to attract that in the external world too. So the not self theme being the one where we're in our only human self, where we're looking to get instant gratification or quick successes, or where we're sadly sometimes hurting other people just from our own wounding. And, I've had this a lot, and I've talked to my best friend about this a lot, how sometimes we really sad, so sad, but I have to own it. I wish bad upon my ex sometimes because I was so mad at him. It's like, I hope the universe gets him bad, because he did me so, he hurt me so much when I didn't realize how I was hurting myself, and so then we have to externalize it. We don't have to, but that's what the not self does. It acts from wounding and it causes more wounding. So the specific theme for us projectors, of course, being bitterness. So in opposition to that, success, when we're feeling successful inside, whatever that means, and this is not just, Oh, I made $100,000. I feel successful. Oh, I got the job. I feel successful. Those are usually manifestations of physical manifestations of first feeling successful. So the feeling of success comes from different things for everyone, right? Very closely aligned to your values as well. Success is alignment and ease. Exactly. So we'll talk about this more. I love that you said that with the ease as well, because that's going to be part of what we'll go dive into as well. And so when we are feeling successful, it could be the littlest things. And I've this year, and I'm blessed and I've worked hard at it in all the ways, physically, prayer wise, spiritually, all the ways, emotionally, mentally, physically, on my business, and my business is on the up, and I'm proud of it, and I'm grateful for it, because the market is on the down and the economy is on the question mark. And so to say that my business is going up is very beautiful for me. And but other than that, I've really simplified my life this year so much. I mean, not just in the quantity of things that I do, but also in how I live my life is so much more simplified, and it makes me feel so much more successful. I can enjoy, like last night was a good example when the kids were all doing their homework, and I was like, now I have to clean up the kitchen like every day, right? Or there's stuff lying around and the toddler didn't clean up after himself, and I'm like, and I hadn't really eaten my dinner yet. And like, okay, I feel like I want to clean up a little bit before I sit down and eat my dinner. Personal personal preference, not a wrong or right to anything, but then I had to, like, I noticed how I had to drag myself, like pick up this and pick up that, and then I was lucky enough that somehow it switched on in my brain. It's like, no, this is not how this works. We have to be coming back to a place of gratitude. Remember, Alex, everything we do is spiritual practice. And then I thought about it and I looked around and like, how grateful am I to have this beautiful home and to live in this lovely place and to have my children here and to have children at all and to be healthy and to have them be healthy, and how successful that alone feels to me. And gratitude is a big part of success, right? And so I was like, how great, like I'm such a brat, I thought to myself, complaining that I have to clean up this house and clean up after the lucky life that I have. Not lucky, but lucky that I've built it, with the grace of the big boss. I'm like, no, 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 Alex, this is not how this works. You don't get to be bratty about this. It's like, how lucky are you that you get to clean up this house and that you get to make it so much more beautiful, and that you get to clean up the kitchen at night, because it means that we all live here together and we create a mess together. And so those little things, this is where I'm putting in my practice every day now. And that's how I'm keeping it really, really simple, not chasing. I had to unfollow so many people on Instagram, not because they're not good people or they're doing it wrong, but it was just creating the wrong focus in my mind of like, oh, if I'm not making 1 million by the end of next year in my business, like I'm doing something wrong, right? And the focus was off, because I personally have no problem with big vision and big spending and big numbers. And you probably have heard me talk about this before. My ex-husband and I, we had a startup and it went incredibly well. And it got a #1 in Japan on social media when it was in Fukushima and blah, 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 and houses in San Francisco and whatnot, whatnot. So I have no problem with the big vision, but it's like, and it's the same in my jujitsu practice, funnily enough. I jumped in and I immediately learned, like, I trained with a lot of higher belts and I learned like the higher level techniques, but the foundation was missing, right? And so for me, it's always like I have no problem doing the bigger stuff, the more complicated stuff, the the big vision things, spending big, taking big money in. But I had to really, and this is where you can all invite yourselves to look as well, like in your life. Some people can do both naturally, but usually people are more like, I either have more of the big vision and they need help with the little vision, or they're more like, I'm so detail focused, like Martha Stewart. I don't know if you've watched the documentary. It's a really inspiring, beautiful documentary on Netflix. She is so detail oriented. And that's how she built her big empire. She built it from the small to the big. But usually a person is more geared toward one or the other, but we need both. That's why they always say in a business, usually, and I don't believe that, but I mean, I believe that to a degree, but I don't make it true for myself, that you need two people to be successful in business, because one needs to be the visionary and one needs to be the executor, or one needs to be like, anyways, you get the point. And so for me, the success and finding success, and I think for a lot of projectors, because we have so many visions and we see others so easily, seeing in our own lives, like where am I actually with this? Like, am I more in like, am I always building the foundation and never getting to move on to the bigger picture? Or am I such a big visionary that I need to reel it back in a little bit and learn how to just like be grateful for the little things and build a foundation based on gratitude. And something came through for me, like just I it's probably the 64 or whatever I have going on in my human design chart, but I always get like concepts delivered. And then I have the inner vision. So it's like a whole picture that I understand through my inner pictures, how systems work. And so just the understanding that when we are grateful and when we can establish gratitude for everything in our lives, that's the fertile bed that all blessings can come from. And when we don't have gratitude, any area in your life, I want to challenge you to check, and you can post it in the comments if you have clarity on it. But every area in your life that isn't going what you would consider as well, how's your gratitude level about that situation? Because we also need to find the gratitude for the hard stuff. And we've talked about this plenty of times. We'll probably talk about this forever because we forget, right? So every area in your life where we're not experiencing blessings yet, or miracles, or whatever we want to call them, we don't have this solid ground flower bed or soil bed where the blessings can sprout and grow from. And wherever the gratitude is missing, it's a trap floor. It's always going to fall out again. And this is the hard thing. We need to have the gratitude for the hard things, like, I got caught in a thing on Monday in my head, of course, nowhere else. And it took me a while. And I like immediately I knew I have to be grateful for it, even though it was incredibly challenging and hard. And I was also physically lying flat on Monday, which rarely happens, but it happened. And then I got a real big punch in the stomach emotionally in the afternoon. It's like, Jesus Christ, it's one of those days. And they always, my friend got a double whammy this week too. They come sometimes, those days, and it's okay. But what we need to remember is they're all test days. And until I went into my brain and spun out into how that was all like, it was all a movie in my head anyway. It wasn't even a reality, but I was spinning out about something. And so I had to reel it back in and spin it in the other way and say, like, actually, if I was the creator in this situation, and I wanted to spin this into the most best outcome ever for Alex. How could this possibly go? And so I used my creativity to spin into a positive direction, and immediately everything was gone. Every bad feeling was gone because I turned from this is being done to me to I'm doing this. And this is also a theme that we're going to talk about in a little bit, regarding the energy that's available that we can really tap into for the Shabbat energy tomorrow. Shabbat energy just meaning there's a energetic window in time that we can benefit from strengthening some part of our inner belief system and consciousness and self-awareness. So, yeah, that just as a personal tool tip for you, if you have one of those days, and my friend and I did it together yesterday on her double whammy days, and it was actually we laughed and we had fun and everything was forgotten really quickly when you turn from, and this is what it's generally called. I still don't like the term, but from victimhood into creator, but from when you're operating from wounded self, as opposed to becoming the reason why it's going to go well from here. Because if you give something bad that happened the judgment of this is bad, because you are such a powerful creator, then it has to happen. If you're giving something that is a challenging situation the label of this is perfect, this is great, and this is the best thing that could potentially happen, it's gonna have to turn into something great. Because why? Because you are the powerful creator and you don't give yourself that credit yet. And this is what we're gonna work. This is what we're gonna work on. So this is just my little preamp. Who is already stoked and pumped up after hearing this? I hope this is good for you guys. Let me check the chat. It shows me the chat from last week as well, so I have to make sure I see where we're starting. Good morning, everyone, and good day and good afternoon. First of all, thank you for your participation in the chat. I love it so much. I love seeing your faces on camera. It gives me so much. You have no idea. So, Caitlin, this question's about the mentor. We'll see if we'll have something for that later. Because intuition, remind me, intuition is also a big theme of this energy window open tomorrow. Like intuition and okay, just a little quick. I can go into so many side tangents with you all day long, and you know it. But just a quick side sentence: intuition means it is a sense or a feeling or a knowing that you have, and it doesn't automatically mean that it's right, right? Intuition, what you really want to make sure is when you listen to your intuition, is that your intuition comes actually from what we like to call soul or the creator, right? Because that is the highest. The highest, you want to make sure that your intuition is tuned with the highest tuning fork, which is look at the Hawkins scale of emotions. You can look at that yourself and say, like, am I feeling at peace? Am I feeling in alignment? And am I feeling love? Am I feeling authentic? Those are like some of the highest ones. If you are in that state and you receive intuition, you can be pretty sure that it's the energy of the creator talking to you. If you're feeling shame and guilt and you're hearing voices, you can be pretty sure that it's not, right? Unless special angels are talking to you and want to get through to you. And that's also, but I have to like generalize so that you guys can sort your own minds into areas, because I feel like that's what we have to do up there all day long. It's like, which drawer does this go into? Who else here plays chess in their head all day with life? I think that's a projector thing too, right? So intuition, Caitlin, is the answer, a short answer to your thing, but we'll see if there's more answers that you're laughing because you didn't know. Like, thanks, Alex. That's barely useful. Okay. Martha Stewart is one of the few people I admire. She is a multi-talent who can do anything. She is a pretty cool lady. A real, a real bee. She's a boss lady, isn't she? Yeah, I mean, that lady is 80. If she doesn't have the right to say what's on her mind, then I don't know who does. Bitterness laying there for sure, kind of stuck in it. Yes, and I want to even challenge you on that wording, Don't even please anyone. Don't tell yourself you're stuck anymore. please, because your words are so powerful. You are such a powerful creator. Please phrase this differently, right? If you could maybe say something like, bitterness, I'm seeing and feeling some bitterness inside of me, and I'm ready to release it gently and in whatever way needs to happen. I'm open to it, right? Because every word you write, every word you speak is a prayer. And you are being recorded. It's like you're 24/7. You're always being recorded. How do people find gratitude for major losses? Getting cancer with poor prognosis, suicides of family members, losing a job, becoming homeless, having a home burning down, never being able to have children. These are all realities for people I know. Yes, and this is such a good question, Christina, and this is why, and as we're going into the mechanics of what our soul's purpose is, loss and pain and having hard challenges is part of everyone's life, right? The things you put into words here, they are examples, and every one of us is going to have something hard happen to us in life. We're all going to experience someone that we love leaving the earth, whether that's a pet or a human or, family member, friend. Usually, I have not heard of a human that hasn't had a loss, heartbreak, relationships ending, friendships ending, difficult financial situations, health things. Those are all things that every human has to overcome. And some of them, seem harder than others, and I'm sure they are, but sometimes also in retrospect, when you look back on a really hard time in your life, you can kind of ask yourself, I don't know how I did it, but I got the strength for it somehow from somewhere, and that is so for some people, these things mean that life is moving toward an end. For some people, not. But I think, Christina, the quickest answer to this question that you're asking is ask people after the fact. Like, ask people who are either knowing they won't make it out of cancer and they're lying on their deathbed, like, how are you dealing with this, Or once I know a few people who have overcome it, and then obviously it's very easy for them to find the gratitude in it because oftentimes they feel like they've been reborn, right? When it comes to losing family members to suicide or even children, like the really hard hitters, we're all like fingers crossed, has for shalom, as they say, or, may this never happen to any of us. But that's just part of life. And it's it's part of the spiritual process of how. I mean, that is the question. How can we find gratitude for this? We have to go really, really deep into trust, faith, and believing that the Creator always has only things that are good for our soul. And what's good for our soul isn't usually so good for the ego. It's like why everyone's always talking about when you do ayahuasca ceremony, the ego dies, and like it's not comfortable being in ceremony and barfing for a few hours or being in pain or crying or feeling all the things that people have suppressed. But afterwards, I've never seen anyone after ceremony say like they feel worse, especially if it's a 2-day weekend. But anyway, that's beside the point. But we have to learn, we have to go through hard things. That's just part of soul growth and soul expansion. Otherwise, there's no learning. And the lessons aren't always what we want to learn, but there's always a blessing. The key is there's always a blessing to be found, but sometimes they are very hidden and we have to dig a little deeper. So I know that's not a happy answer, but we're all living life, so we all know that none of us are getting the easy ride. Especially, I feel like the last couple years haven't been a cruise for most people I know. Mm-mm-mm-mm. Is it a projector thing to be so literal? I don't know. I think astro placements also come in, a lot. With people I know who have gone through multiple major losses, some seem to make it through to some extent, though permanently altered, and others seem broken forever. Is there a point where ongoing difficulties are just too much? It feels that pain and bad luck is unevenly distributed. Yeah. I mean, everyone comes to this, and here again, we're talking about the soul. Everyone comes to this human journey with a different soul, with different past lifetimes. I recently heard that for souls who come to the earth for the first time, they get an easy ride. I don't know. But the older the soul, the more challenging the curriculum. To me, that makes sense. And nobody gets the same ride. I've got friends who've been stuck in their trauma for 20, 30, 40 years sometimes. That's why somebody else is in charge. I don't know how this gets distributed, but as far as I've heard, it's a combination of past life experiences and age of soul and what our soul needs to go through in order to learn and to grow. There must be a lot of old souls here. Yeah. I mean, that's why, and that's also beautiful because we have the potential to turn so much around in the world right now, right? Which is we're going to come back to that again in a minute. So I'm going to close the chat again now so that I can, because my slide Gemini um, ADD that I can also stop accepting, but for now, I just have my eyes and ears everywhere. So, good morning, Brew. So, let's talk about the mechanics that we wanted to talk about. I'm just looking at my notes. What is the path? What is our path in life? What should we really be going for if we're looking for the most direct and for the most direct way of giving? Because life is giving and taking, right? Doing and receiving. Masculine and feminine, right? There's not like we can only have the feet on our couch and lean back. Most people haven't mastered that somehow. But being of service and making being of service doesn't mean you need to have a service-oriented business, right? Being of service can also mean you're seeing somebody needs something, an old lady needs to cross the street, or your neighbors need some sugar, or whatever it is. Or in my own life, my daughter says last night, would you like, Mom, would you like me to because I told her I never understood algebra and neither did I care. And I'm still don't find the need to. And she is a math nerd. And so she's like, oh, and this algebra, would you like me to explain it to you real quick so that you maybe can understand it? And it would also help me if I could explain it to you, it would get it deeper into my brain. She's 15, just started high school. And in my mind, I was like, no, I don't care. And then I thought, okay, this is my selfish nature. If I wanted to be of service, what would it actually cost me to have, while I'm emptying the dishwasher, she can come in the kitchen and tell me about algebra. And it helped her and it made her happy. And it was actually a really beautiful connection moment between us that my ego, my selfish nature, just wanted to say no to it. Like, I wanted to be in the kitchen alone and enjoy my little gratitude that I had just earned for myself, gotten myself back to. Yay, I love cleaning the kitchen. I'm so grateful I get to do this. And here someone comes and wants to talk to me about algebra. Anyways, it ended up well. And that also can be being of service. Your husband comes home and, okay, maybe most of us don't have husbands who actually like to talk much about their days, but there might be the one or the other or the wife comes home and is like, oh, can I just tell you about my day? And you're like, I'd rather not hear all of this stuff from your office, but those things are also being of service. And gate five, patience, gene key five, patience. And this is for me in my earth, in my tropical chart. If I don't have patience and if I don't cultivate intentionally more and more patience, then I can't shine my 35, which is adventure in love, fast progress, if they say. The more patience I have, the more fast progress I make. So all of these dynamics work the same for every human, but for me, patience is just so much more of a learning curve and essential if I want to shine my sun. So, but being of service just means that you are overcoming your own comfort, And comfort, many people just understand comfort zone as, literally like, oh, I'm sitting down, now I'm supposed to get up. And yes, that's also it. But also, where we're growing our patience toward others, that's also getting outside of our comfort zone, right? Because our ego is like, or ego is such a hard, like a hard used term. So for me, visually, it helps a lot when I think of it as my selfish nature, right? My selfish nature would rather have the house quiet most times because I like it, And I choose when what music comes on or what podcasts. And then I also have three children. They don't have the same ideas as me in the house oftentimes, so it's not always quiet. And then um, we need to overcome that selfish nature. So our coming back to what the path is and the mechanics. There are so many aspects to a chart, of course, and that's why usually people get one reading and they're like, "Oh, now I know less than before," right? Because then so many new questions open. Well, what else is in the chart? But it's a beautiful opening, and all of these dynamics and mechanics are also, if you get astro readings or if you get human design readings or if you get intuitive readings, But there are things in your life given by your soul and the creator, usually shown in your chart. There are things that come to you very, very easily. Talents, God-given gifts. Think Taylor Swift or Ariana Grande, Mariah Carey, Beyonce singing. If they didn't sing, what a waste of talent, right? So we're all grateful if we like them, or your favorite music artist, or Leonardo DiCaprio, all like whatever he's not my favorite actor, not my unfavorite, but he came up first. So he's also a projector. So is George Clooney, so is Brad Pitt, all the guys. So is Halle Berry. Whoever your favorite, whoever your favorite person is, or athlete, martial artists, other basketball players, hockey player, whatever it is, somebody's got a gift for something and they're honing it, right? And every one of us has a gift. There's some of the, I always mix up all the basketball players. So it was one of the big basketball players who said, yes, I do have a talent, an immense talent, but I also go to the gym at 5 a.m. every day. So talent alone doesn't make it, and discipline alone usually doesn't make it either. So what is that in your life, right? That thing that you have a talent for. You can ask others if you're not sure, or you get a reading with someone you trust. What are those talents that are God given to you where you're like, and if you have a business, those are usually the questions that I ask. What would be so ridiculous for you to get paid for because you're like, I do this anyway and it's so much fun? Like Ariana Grande would probably always be trillering around, if like she loves singing, so why not do it professionally, right? So what, and you can have many. Like some people have one big gift, some people have more big gifts, some people have a ton of gifts. That's also sometimes a curse because which one to focus on, right? People who are talented at everything, like sometimes really hard for them. I know a few. They're not always pleased with it. It comes back to having gratitude. But So here's the thing. That's like your God-given gifts. That's where you can naturally shine. Usually it has something to do with your sun sign in astrology or your sun gate in human design. Those are usually things where it's like easy for you to shine, right? For me, I'm a people person. I can talk to people very easily. Also has to do sometimes with the Mercury in your charts. So with the Mars in your charts, wherever you want to look. But there's just things that we're like, oh yeah, that's easy for me. So that's a good hint for you to know that you should be shining that you should be pursuing that, right? Soul curriculum wise, not any shoulds on in the human realm or your mom telling you, you should go to university because that's what we have to do. But that's just a hint of what your soul, where there's a good soul path for you, where you can usually experience a lot of success. And by success, I mean the inner success, which then brings also the outer success. But something that you keep doing and that you keep honing and that you keep dedicating yourself to, that brings success. And then there are the things that are not easy for you, right? That could be going to the gym or eating more healthy or going to bed early. Or, like we talked about earlier, if you're more of a big picture person, getting into the small picture. If you have ADD, then what's not easy for you is focus, whatever it is, if you're more of a workaholic, a lot of Capricorn or Virgo in your in your chart, maybe making time, intentional time for connection with your family. If you're more aloof, then in the astro chart, it'll show you like kind of the opposites. Like a sign sits here, and then the opposite is usually there. And so if you have a lot of natural talent in one area, it tells you, or north node, south node, right? Everything's opposing. So yes, follow the things that are easy for you, follow your God-given gifts, and through the path of following them, you will come up against the things that are not easy for you. And those are the things then to overcome, because with every overcoming that you do of those inner challenges that might keep you from becoming a singer or whatever your talent is, basketball player, just making this up, you know what yours is, right? So I'm orienting my business so much more toward really just honing in on being of service with my biggest talents because I want to be the most helpful. And in the process, I come across challenges, internal, external, whatever it is. And when I overcome them, that's fuel. That's the fuel you need. If those things didn't occur, you wouldn't get any wind behind your sails. You need to work through those hard things and you need to challenge yourself actively. If you don't want to get here we are again. If you don't want to get the universe's hammer, you better go looking for it. You better get yourself to the gym if you know that's what you need to do more of and it's hard for you. You better get yourself on a walk. You better get yourself talking on camera if that's your biggest fear, whatever it is, that whatever fear or worry or doubt you're overcoming, every time you are overcoming your internal selfishness, what we talked about before, you're getting the fuel for shining your gifts. So both is needed as much as the yin and yang symbol and the masculine and feminine always need to be balanced. This also needs the balance. Ask any long-standing artist or any artist, even a new artist. There's so many beautiful new artists coming out of the UK, female singers that I'm like, wow, this exists. This is so cool. They come out there with a really bold, authentic album of a style that I haven't even heard of or known before. Like, I'm sure even if you sit down with one of them and ask, like, what did it take you to actually make that album? They'll tell you all the things they had to overcome internally and externally, right? So it's not an easy ride to follow your gifts and your talents and your divine assignment, soul's assignment, but it's the easier path. Because if you know already that you're going to be challenged and you're going to have to overcome no matter what, because this is life, and you're choosing something that's hard for you to do, especially as a projector, you are swimming up two streams at the same time against a strong current. So, what's the lesser evil, you know? Let me look at my notes real quick and let me see. We're also gonna end this in a few because of the call right after in our membership. But I want to make sure that I bring everything across that I wanted to bring across. And I would love to know what your biggest ahas are in the chat so far, or your biggest aha so far that you're taking away for this weekend, for this week so far, so that you can anchor it in for yourself more. Every time you write it, remember it's a prayer. So let me see. Talents. There's so much light to be revealed when you truly shine with the expression of your sun and your soul. That's why the challenges have to come up. What else? I covered this, I covered that. Okay. Faith removes limits, fear enforces limits. Blessings and abundance come through tests, especially anger and letting go. So that is a side journey, but it's something I also wrote down for today. If you're looking for more blessings and abundance in life, you have to be observant of where you are getting tested with anger stuff and with letting go stuff. And wherever you have bitterness is a sign that it's an invitation for you to let go of something else. So now to the Shabbat window and the energy window that is open this weekend, and that we can specifically ask for from Friday sundown to Saturday sundown in a much bigger way, and to understand really your power over your life path more. I want to frame it in a context. So I just learned this recently, as I always learn something new recently, because the universe is a treasure trunk with amazing depths of never-ending blessings and wisdom and downloads and teachers. And so a tzaddik in Kabbalah, they call them a righteous person. Maybe in other religions, they would be called a saint or, whatever. A very wise person, maybe on the level of Jesus or Abraham, or there were many, but they were talking about what qualities does a righteous person need to have in order to really qualify. And I'm sure there are many that I'm not aware of, but when it comes to certainty, and this is what they always talk about in Kabbalah too, we need to have certainty in the light of the Creator, which if you know that everything that comes to you, whether it feels good or it feels bad, it comes from the Creator and it's good, that is the level of certainty in the Creator. But a tzaddik needs to have three levels of certainty. So the first one is the level of certainty in the light of the Creator, what I just talked about, that the Creator is always benevolent, that whatever is in our life is amazing because it comes from the Creator. My rubber belly, my love handles, whatever I might judge in myself is amazing because it comes from the Creator. And this is a harmless example, right? Like we said earlier, it's much more challenging to do that when it comes to painful things and challenging things. But it's tzaddik, and if we're all feeling into our own little inner tzaddik, wise person, righteous person, successful person, master creator of our own life, That is one of the keys. We need to have that certainty in the Creator, in the light of the Creator. The second certainty a tzaddik has is the certainty in the tools, in their spiritual tools. So if you've been a witch in your previous lifetime, that's your cauldron and your spells. But if you're an energy healer, anything, anything in your spiritual practice, you need to have the certainty in your tools, in your toolbox. And the third one, and this is the one that you can ask for humbly with prayer and to the Creator for this opening window this week, starting specifically tonight at sundown, depending on your time zone. But you can access this anytime. But if you want to make a jump start, that is the certainty in yourself as a powerful creator. If you have the other two and you're like, the creator is great and mighty and the tools are great and mighty, but you don't believe that your prayer can change something, and you don't think of yourself as a powerful creator who can make things happen in your life, then there's something missing from the recipe. So this is the thing that you can specifically ask for, plus the intuition and many more things, because there's always so many verses, but I want to always focus on the one that I understand as, for me, the most important, which then I also hope is for you important. But to answer Caitlin's question, how can I find if a mentor is right for me? Align your intuition with the Creator. And that comes to having trust in the Creator, but also having the trust in yourself that you are a powerful creator. And no matter who you choose, that you are going to make the best out of it. And you are so powerful that you're going to make it a success. All right. So let me see. I'm just scanning through because I have to hop on our next call soon. Power of words, tests, and alignment. I need to check in with the places that challenge me and give some gratitude. I want to say some surrendering too. I love that. Being of service and talents in what I need to work on. I love that, Davana. Kamala says, stop saying I'm floundering. Maybe I'm swimming. Find some more empowering term for the experience. Yes, because as long as you're saying it, it's going to stay a reality, right? Beautiful. The importance of going back into the body and out of the mind and returning again and again to an energy frequency that lifts and evolves out of the shadow. That is beautifully put. So play with that this week. I love how the sun is coming through. It looks extra rainbowy over here. I hope this has been helpful for you to understand, hey, where do I actually want to put my focus? What is actually the thing that I'm meant to do here? And what are the mechanics, Yes, move forward with what's already talent for me and what's easy to pursue, because there are going to be challenges anyways. So why am I pursuing something that is not even my passion, my love, my joy, my heart, my desire? Because the tests are going to come anyway. And this is where success lives. That is a forward dynamic that you can trust and that you can work with, as opposed to one where you have to paddle so hard to get yourself to do it anyway, and then you're getting the added challenges on top. So thanks for being here. This has been amazing. I hope it's incredibly enriching for your experience in your mind, in your life, in your business, in your homes, in your families, relationships. And I hope to see you again here, same time, same place next week, and maybe in one of my memberships. If you have questions about anything, you're always welcome to reach out. So, love you guys. Fantastic as always. I'm glad you loved it. Thank you, love. See you next time. Sending you big blessings.